Hey guys, I'm your host Smitha and welcome to Journey Podcast, your weekly podcast on transformational journeys. Hello everybody, I have Marisa Pablo with me today. She's a coach, speaker, and activist from Germany living in Mexico currently. She studied health management, always interested in mental health. Her values are authenticity, freedom, respect, and love, especially for yourself. 2011, first contact with the personal development. 2014, first blog in German about leaving a victim mode behind, more like a self-help. 2019, she published her first book, first speaker award, and the first slot in TV, which is Everything in Germany. In 2019, Awareness Walk Against Sexual Abuse in Mexico. 2020, she founded coaching business, brand, and a long-term goal in foundation of survivor of sexual abuse. Welcome to the show, Marisa. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Please go ahead and tell us your story in your words and your passion towards this work, why you chose this journey, and what actually happened to you.
Yeah, my journey or my contact with all this started when I was like 16 years old. I fell in love with a man, and like teenagers, we're searching attention normally, right? And it felt really good at first. And yeah, one time he wanted to be alone with me, and from the perspective of a 16-year-old girl, I think I just acted normally, but like looking back from my perspective right now, obviously you don't think that far in that age.
Yep.
He wanted to have more intimacy of me, and I was not ready to share that with him. I wanted to be close to him. I wanted to have a hug from him. And yeah, so in one moment I realized that the thing is going like the wrong way. We were in an apartment above of his I think it was the firm of his uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I said no, but he was like not realizing. And then I think you get like a survivor mode, right? Because like although I wasn't panicked, sometimes I had like really clear moments, and then I said, okay, to survive, what was the most important thing in that moment? Maybe I should escape. But then I realized, okay, he closed the door when we came in from the inside. Then I was in the mode of, okay, then I could scream, but then I remembered that he told me that we were like in an industrial zone, and all the firms were just working in the day, and it was night already. So there was nobody. Yeah, there was not only one car in the street. And then I said, okay, when he really don't hear my nose because he don't care, maybe it would be better to just accept and give him what he wants. So this was a decision in that moment, because he was disaccepting my no. He was just ignoring it. And yeah, then it was like, thanks God, it was like, I don't like to call a violation sex, because sex for me is always pleasure, but it was just normal contact. He don't wanted like really strange things of me. This is what I'm really glad of. And so he was on me. He was penetrating me, and then in one moment he had his orgasm. And after this, he was like waking up, because he realized that I was crying, but I was crying the whole time already. But he was like in trance or whatever, so he was not really realizing it, but in that moment he realized it. And when I saw that he was shocked, I thought that this was like my chance to get out of this, right? So my fear, my pain changed into like anger, and I just took advantage of the moment where he was like, I don't want to do you any harm, and just screamed at him that he has to open the door and let me out, and if not, I will cause him problems. So all that, what I was holding back in the moments before, I let out in that moment, all the feelings, and he was like really shocked. And the good thing is that he let me out. I think he couldn't think in that moment. And yeah, of course, first I wanted to go home. Like you want to hide yourself. This was my impulse, but I was afraid of the reaction of my dad, because I actually escaped from home. They didn't knew that I was gone. So I decided to stay in that city till my school started, and just went to classes and tried to act as normal as I could. And yeah, like people say that we Germans are quite cold, right? And this is maybe was an advantage in that moment, because I could just like hide all that feelings. And when I realized this worked for one day and nobody asked what has happened, because I didn't want to realize what happened myself, I just decided to go on in this role, to just ignore it. And the problem was that I always was like a person that was searching leading positions, and in a leading position, like in the soccer team, I was the team leader. Then we had, I don't know if this is in other countries too, but in our school, every class had a speaker for itself, who would like be the first person to contact the teacher if there's an issue and stuff. So I got myself out of that role, to not have that attention, to have like an easier way to hide all that stuff. And obviously I was a teenager, so you know that teenagers like change mood really fast. So I think everything that my parents, for example, thought that would be weird, they thought that she's a teenager, right? This is for at least what I thought. I don't have an idea how the surrounding was seeing me, but nobody asked.
Yeah.
This is what my intention was in that moment. But I just went on in my life, and I realized that although I tried to ignore it for almost 10 years, it was affecting me. It was affecting me in the way I was with men, for example. And I always thought I was kind of weird, because I thought like you have you think you know what a normal violated girl should act like, right? What is absolute bullshit. But I thought after an experience like this, you would not be able to have sex in a pleasant way again, that you would say no to nothing, to everything. But I was just the other way around. my brain was saying, okay, this man was not accepting your no, not respecting your no. So if you don't say no, nobody can disrespect you, because nobody can disrespect your border, your
Yeah.
limit.
Yeah.
And so when for example, I get to know a person on a party, I had that issue because when it came to a situation, I was not ready to say no again,
Hmm.
because I said, well, my no is not worth it anyways.
Hmm.
So I just let it happen, although I didn't wanted it. Um, and this was like getting myself confidence and stuff lower and lower and lower, because it was like sometimes it was even a person I wouldn't have liked to have that close, but well, I just shut up and let it happen. And this was a problem for me for many years.
Hmm.
And then you have the problem that people just see you as like, if people know, okay, you had something with him, you're just a slut.
Hmm.
Nobody's asking why this is happening. No. And I felt that way as well.
Hmm.
Although I was like not saying, I was not talking to my friends and say, well, I had like, no, but in my head, this was happening. Like, okay, um, if they know this and they know this, they will think that. And I was thinking that too. So it was getting worse and worse. And yeah, I just realized that this affected me, although I don't want it that it affect me.
Yeah.
So in one moment, I thought, okay, I have to do something about it. And it was almost like the first therapy, I think it was like 6 or 7 years later
Hmm.
after the first violation. And it was, I think it was not the best type of therapy for me in that special situation.
Hmm.
And this guy was, the first lessons I think were really good because I started to talk about it. But then again, looking from my perspective afterwards, I realized that I was just lying to him and to myself. I was not lying to him consciously, but
Hmm.
I was like, later I realized it was just like bullshitting around on the superficial
Hmm.
stuff of the point. And this is the thing: if you don't let them in,
Yeah.
they don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Um, and well, we were playing that for a few weeks, and then in the same time frame, I met a person online on a job network,
Hmm.
and he was talking about a book, and he said, I think that book could help you. And that book, from the title, it had nothing to do with what happened to me. So I was like, But in that moment, I always loved to read, and I always loved to grow. So I thought, okay, I will read it. And then I realized I always thought I was still a positive person, what I've always been. I've always been a sunshine. But this book has like 17 chapters in which it talks about if you are thinking like a good person in perspective of success,
Hmm.
or like an unsuccessful person. And I was always on the bad side. I was thinking like when he wrote the chapters about the negative sides, that he was standing behind me and watching into my life. It was really almost disgusting how I didn't realize how it had changed myself. And it was like, whoa. And then um, we visited a seminar, my first seminar of personal development, my first contact with that. And it was mind blowing. I was so much better after just 3 days. And I kicked the therapy out of my life because I said, okay, I don't think that no therapy works, but this wasn't working for me. I realized that in that moment. And then I was addicted to personal development, which was good on one side because it changed my mindset a lot, but it was also bad because I still had I felt like I'm still like a small little thing. So I wouldn't take all the things I learned into action. So I spent money on seminars, right? Um, but yeah, it was uplifting because on that seminar we had an exercise to talk about something out of our past that was holding us back. So I had the first chance to talk about the violation, but of course I was afraid, but I took the chance because the person I was talking to didn't know me. So I said, if this person that was a woman doesn't react appropriate how I would wish, I don't care that much because we will never cross path again if we don't want to.
Yep.
And this actually helped me because when I talked about it the first time, I realized that talking is something magical. Like it was, I felt so much lighter afterward. And this is what I started to take in action afterwards. I started to talk about what happened to me, but first, just with foreigners, just with people that hadn't weren't part of my inner circle.
Yep.
To first, like every day, every time I talked about it, it was a little bit easier for me. And this was a good practice to actually come to a point where you can talk to your parents and stuff. And yeah, it took me almost 10 years from the violation till the day I talked to my family. And this was really a beautiful situation because I remember like in close to Munich, I was living there. I was sitting on a green field of grass, watching the Alps. So it gave me energy. And I made myself a note, what I want to say, in which order I want to say it. And I gave rules because I was afraid because I was living alone with my mom and my brother in that time it happened that my father, for example, would attack like my mom, that she's guilty because she wasn't watching after me, but I was 16, so she wouldn't have been able to hold me back. But when I entered that I wanted to avoid that. So when the day had come, it was my birthday, and I was not living anymore in the same area as my parents. So first we had the party. Then I waited till my grandparents left because I first wanted to talk just to my parents, my brother, and my uncles because like my grandparents were already old, and so I asked them if they can come in the living room, and then I said the rules, and I was really clear. I was really like the notes were already helping me to don't think like, oh, I forgot something or stuff like that. I was really quiet. Of course, I was nervous about the situation, but this helped me so much to have a plan already what do I want to say and what is like the goal, right? I just wanted that they understand me. And I try to also don't have like, so don't expect that much from them. Not because they are bad persons, but because I knew this would be a hard moment for them as well.
Yeah.
So I came into the room and I said, okay, we have two rules. Nobody in this room is guilty. And first you let me talk because it's difficult for me. And then afterwards you can talk, have questions, whatever. But first, please let me finish. Don't interrupt me because I don't know if I can start again, if you interrupt me with something that maybe is really like emotional. And then I started talking and I explained them, okay, then I said that I'm fine already, that it will shock them and that it was hard what I will tell them, but that I'm already like overcame the worst part of it, and this is why I'm talking to them. And I also told them that they please shouldn't be angry on me that I didn't share it earlier because I just couldn't. Had nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
And then I talked, and I don't really remember what I said. This was like moment driven. But it was really nice because my parents were separated, but they were like, we could have birthdays together and stuff, so they were not fighting, and this was really good. But still there was always like a tension sometimes, and in this moment it was really nice because my father said, for example, to my brother, please, if you go to the party of your friend later, please don't drink, because if I would drink today, so he was not saying because you, he would say because if I would drink today with those emotions and feelings and thoughts I have about that situation with your sister, and somebody would say just a word that doesn't fit, I don't know how I will react. So
That was nice.
and this was really nice to like not saying don't drink,
Yeah.
but instead of that saying, oh, I'm really overwhelmed of all that feelings. He didn't tell him either to stay at home because maybe it was better that he went out, but he said, well, I wouldn't drink because I don't know how I would react. So it was a really nice moment where we all were like united. And to be honest, they tried to don't speak about it. They would never leave me alone, but I feel that they don't feel comfortable with it. So I found other people I can talk to it, right? Other survivors, for example. And the good thing is that in all that time, I realized that I'm not alone and I'm not the only one that had sex with several partners afterward.
Yep.
Actually, there are many women that prostitute themselves because of their self-worth that is just gone. It's just nothing. And sometimes it's also a repetition of not having it under control. And this is like, I don't like to give that much of you should do that, you should do that. I would always recommend talking, but every person has its own time frame he or she needs to open up. So don't pressure yourself. Take your time, but I think in one moment it's always better to speak. But in the moment you are able to. And what I also would recommend is to read stories of other survivors. If you can't reach out actively to them already, but to realize you're not alone. Yeah, that situation is unique, but there are other people that are going through the same things or even worse. And it's not about comparing, but just to realize that how you react is just natural and you're not alone with that reaction. This is what helped me, but it took me over a decade to realize that. Because when I was 16, I wouldn't go into like searching Google over survivors. There are amazing TED Talks, for example. There are amazing podcasts like this.
Thank you.
Where you can really hear and listen about the feelings. And this is what you said. What I'm passionate about is when I started to speak about that in a bigger frame, I realized that it helps many people to open up as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with the same topic. But if a person really opens up their heart, I got goosebumps if I think about some histories I heard in my past. It's like other people give allowance to themselves to make the same thing. Maybe because you connect really on that heart vibe, and it's amazing what happens afterwards. And in when I talked to my parents, it was 2013. In 2014, I started writing down my story on a blog, but I didn't want it to earn any money with it, and I never did. And I don't even wanted to reach that much people yet. It was just like writing it down for me, and when somebody is finding it accidentally and it helps him or her, amazing, right? And this was just mind blowing because I was on Facebook at that time. I had a lot of friends already, but it was just private contact. It was not like today I'm in touch with thousands of other coaches and stuff, but this was just like a private odyssey. And I just said like, oh, here I got a blog um, telling my story. And I thought like, okay, 10 people will see the post, 5 maybe will click on the link, and 2 or 3 will read something. This was what I was saw, and I thought I could grow with that, like bit for bit. But no, 24 hours later, I had already over 1,000 people on the blog.
Wow. Amazing.
Uh-huh. I got goosebumps again. And the thing was, there were people from organized groups of self-help that I never heard of before. So it was like people were sharing the blog, and I was super grateful, but I was in a negative way also totally overwhelmed because I felt so much responsibility. It was like, what is going on? And I remember a moment I was sitting in a park, everything green around me, and I would just cry because it was so amazing. I could reach out to so many people. It was so amazing that people were interested in that, because like this is something we have to deal with sometimes, that people just want to hear negative positive stories, right? And they try to ignore all the negative, or they say it wasn't that bad, or something like victim blaming without wanting to. And but there were so many people, and like 600 people were reaching out to me like,
Wow.
can you come and speak at our organization, or friends that were with me in school at that time and were studying psychology, and they said, I always thought with my knowledge right now, I would feel if this would happen to someone. And I never would have thought that this happened to you in that year. Like we were having ice cream maybe a day or two later because we were friends at that time. And I said, yeah, but I tried everything that you wouldn't realize what happened. So this was really, really a tough day because it was so emotional. It was like going up and down and grateful and yeah, but also like, what? How could I handle all that? And then it was like, I just published an article like every 2 or 3 or 4 months because it was too much for me in that moment. And yeah, but well, it was fine. It was just still helping me, right? This is what many people also say, that writing down
Yep.
first your feelings, but sometimes also one time all your story, all the details, although it hurts going through it, but you can like part of release it with that.
Yeah.
And it was really amazing. And on 2015, I was in a seminar in Germany with like 5,000 people, but I was sitting in the audience and I was not meant to say something, but he would do exercises with all the audience and then he would ask who would share, who wants to share. And he asked what the two most important decisions were the last 3 years in your life. And many of his questions made me like think for a while and then write something down. But in that moment he asked the questions, I knew the answer, I wrote it down, and then I was just waiting. And when he said, who wants to check, I stand up, and he was like, wow, this was quick. And I was like, yeah. So I would talk about those two situations, and I told one was to tell my parents what happened to me,
Yep.
and then starting that blog. And those 5,000 people were just flipping out. They were standing on their chairs to clap. And afterwards, this was the first time I realized how immense this impact is on others, because there was a person that told me that she was like, I think 45 years when she remembered her child abuse. So
Wow.
her brain had blocked that out for 40 years almost, or 35. Um, and she said, you are the first person, a part of my therapist, who found that out with me, because she was having the same experience as I. She realized that something was affecting her, but she didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So the therapy would go deeper and deeper and deeper. And in one moment, she remembered that her uncle was abusing of her.
Mm.
And she told me all that story. It was like vomiting everything,
Yep.
like just getting it out. And then she seemed like almost surprised that she shared all that with me,
Yep.
all that things that were so private. And she was so grateful. I was also totally overwhelmed, and I couldn't go to the toilet or having something to eat without people that were coming around. And it was really amazing because now I felt like a little bit more ready for that. So I felt like this was my path. And a few years ago, before that, like 2012, I think, I was on a seminar too. And on that seminar, my mission, it was called Mission to Millions. And
Mm.
they tried to let you find your mission, but also teach you how you can earn money with it. Because if you earn money with it, you can put more time into it, right? If I would do it just as a hobby, I would still have to earn money with other things. Um, and my mission I wrote down, and I forget afterwards, was to help other survivors. And now, like, the puzzle was getting more concrete, right? Every time there was a piece more. And but I still felt like I'm not a therapist, I don't have the education and stuff. But this is what you said at the beginning. This is what is the biggest emotion, is to feel that impact in others. And this is just like the beginning of that person. And I said I would love to have that person or be in touch with that person and go all the way, right? Not just like helping her open up, but then to get that things behind you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I made more seminars about. I'm really into. I love PNL. Is it called PNL in English, or is it neuro linguistic programming, NPL? Yeah, it's my three languages. In Germany and English, it's NPL, and in Spanish, it's PNL. Yeah. I love that because you can have like an instant impact on people. And I realized that I think like it's with an alcoholic. He always will be an alcoholic, right? And although I overcame so many things, it still helps me talk about it. So every time I can help someone else, I also help myself.
Yes.
This is an amazing combination. And if I help myself talking, for example, in front of an audience, I can help them. And for me, this is a really nice combination. And yeah, then in 2009, I published a book. I won a speaker award on my first speaker event because I think I can really talk emotional, and it was like a speech because the audience were not sexual abuse people, and it was an event that was more like entertaining. So it was like a motivational speech to love your life and live it like authentically, and because this is what I did so many years. I hid that thing, that sad little thing behind a mask of hey, todo bien, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And it was not true. It was not true. And I love to. I don't know if you know that history or metaphor, but they talk about chicken and eagles, and that some people are like chicken, and some fly free as an eagle. And in those histories, always they tell you like some people are chicken and some are eagles, and I don't believe that. I think we are all born eagles.
Yeah.
But the education is more like that you think you are a chicken.
Yep.
And that you don't know that your wings serve to fly.
Yeah.
And this is like a slogan I love that. Although your wings may be broken, they are still meant to make you fly. So if you can find a way to cure yourself, there are no limits anymore, because I think if you figure that out, what should stop you afterwards, right? Because this is something that impacts us so much and have so much influence. But if you um, reach out to your dreams, to the, I don't know how to, the calling you have in your life, and just go for it, I think that there's no limit left. And with the book and with the speaker event, I was like proving this to myself. And then I said, okay, I'm a professional in procrastinating because of fear. And in that moment, I realized that sometimes my goals were too small because a big goal and a small goal sometimes like bring up the same fear, but the benefit of the bigger goal is bigger.
Yep.
So sometimes it needs a really brave goal so that you can say, okay, it's the the price I pay is not that high, but the price I get out of
Yeah.
this, out of taking that risk and out of getting for it, is huge. And so I decided last year in April, I think, yeah, in April and May, just after this speaker event, I decided to have bigger goals. And I wanted to move to Mexico because I fell in love with the place when I first came here. I came here in 2017 to learn better Spanish, to um, be on the beach, and to escape Germany because there had happened something. I will get back to that in a second also. And I was really not feeling well in Germany, but in Germany I knew I could earn some money. So when people were searching volunteers for a dog shelter in Mexico, I said, okay, I'm gone. And this time I said, okay, you take yourself wherever you go. So when I want to start my new life in Mexico, I don't just want to go on a plane and like go out of the plane and think my life will be different. So I had heard of a person in Germany that is making awareness walks for people that have AIDS. And this was really impressive for me always. And he wrote a book, and I was like a fan of his book. And then I said, okay, I can do something similar. I can walk and focus a lot on myself, obviously. But if I do it for myself, I can also share it on social media and look what it's getting me, right? And so I called it Awareness Walk Against Sexual Abuse, and it was amazing because I was walking like 2 months, in total almost 1,500 kilometers, and it was really tough sometimes. But the first month, like nobody was interested in my walk. I was on Facebook every day with the same 5 people that followed me, and it was a little bit. I was a little bit sad because even in Germany, in some groups of survivors, they didn't allow me to publish it because it was for them it was promotion for myself. But I said no, I promote life and love about life, and I never sold anything on that walk. But well, I said okay, then just let's go and find out what it does or what it didn't does. And we were walking. I was walking alone, and I had a person in a car that was coming with me. I was asleep in the car. He was cooking for me, and like every 2 hours, he would check if I was still alive, because it like the most part of where I walked is desert. So There was no mobile connection sometimes, so he just would watch after me. And it was funny because I didn't knew him, and we were really close for over 2 months, and it was really difficult to find someone because I couldn't say like I pay you $500 a week or stuff. No, I didn't have any money, and the car was paid by my own money, and so I first thought I would find some promoters for at least for clothing and stuff, but neither eso. And the thing was that I was organizing all by myself, so it was also like a lot of work, and I just decided to do it like 6 weeks before,
Mm.
and I just published it on Facebook without thinking about it because I said, well, if you first think about it, you will find so many problems and issues. You will not do it. Just publish it, and you will find a way. And it was like this. Like one time, we had to stay 2 weeks in the same place because we wouldn't have money. Um, but it was amazing because then in the second part, I like in Germany, nobody was interested. I put a shield on my backpack that said awareness walk against sexual abuse in Spanish. And then I was having a break, and in the break there was like um, a person that was putting me in a comment, and the publication said German girl walks from blah 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 to blah 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 against sexual abuse. So they talked to me, but they
Mm.
didn't told me that they are admins of a huge Facebook group here in that area. And now everything changed. Like we had people that brought us breakfast, everything. And in 1 hour we had like 1,500 likes,
Mm.
and I couldn't even read all comments because they were coming in so fast. And from one day to the other, it was the same situation with my blog. It was just so quick. We had like 10 days later, we had a publication that reached without payment, and it was not even made by me, that reached almost 100,000 people.
Mm.
And in the people I met, in every hug they gave me, in everything that they wanted to give me as a present, there was so much pain,
Yep.
but as well so much hope.
Mm.
And it was just amazing because the bad thing for me was they were seeing me like a holy person, almost like they were like, and I was like, no, it's not about me, and it's not about any other person. It's about the reason,
It's
right?
correct. Yeah.
And it's just a cause. And but yeah, also this was really nice because people started up again, opening up and stuff. And I think they were really glad there was someone who tried to do something. And in one small village, they had 200 people singing the Mexican national hymn for me.
Mm.
And this was really emotional, and we have no video from that because everybody was just stuck in the moment.
Yeah.
And it was, I have it in my heart, but I would love to see it sometimes because it was really nice. And then I realized that although we were missing like a concrete program afterwards, um, that now we had the attention, right? And this was good because we had television, and so yeah, there is interest in the topic and in resolving it. And my like long term goal is to have a foundation that first, one big problem here in Mexico, and I think in many other countries is that people stay with the person that is treating them bad because they don't know how to maintain themselves. And today, I think there are so many options online. Because in Germany, I know people that can't do a normal work because of anxiety. And this is really sad because now they feel like worthless again because they can't be part of the society and can't do their part of earning money for their family and stuff. Um, so this would be one goal, to show those people at least to earn a little money first while they are getting better mentally, right? Because I think that earning that money also helps to become better. Because in the meanwhile, you can do something for your family. I think it's also the pressure of like of people like, you can't stay at home all time, yeah, with depression and stuff. And I think this is in Germany or in the countries that are more developed. I think it's an issue of how the society sees you. But in countries like Mexico, you just can't afford to stay at home most of the times. Yeah, depends, of course, who's your family and in um, which level they live. But the most of the times you just have to go on and have to earn your own money. But if you are in a marriage with someone who treats you bad, he would do everything so you can't maintain yourself, or you don't learn about it. So we would have the challenge to bring this to the person without like the family knowing it or stuff. But this is like one point I would love to attack. And then what also is really tough for me is um, the like, I think the survivor many times is like a little bit um, is afraid of what the parents think or the family, but the family also is totally overwhelmed and don't know how to treat that person. So I usually don't talk to a person about that. If it's a German person, I always say go on my webpage and read it, because then that person has time for himself
Understand how to, yeah.
to first realize what's going on, because they feel pressure to answer you if you talk to them.
Yep.
And I can now talk about it without any emotion, because like I overcame it. But they are stuck in their, what should I say, what should I do, and they just can't know that because it's not that popular, that topic, that they would know. And I think it's also really individual, and I would like love to close that gap, to maybe ask survivors who already talked to their families, what was really good, how people reacted, what liked you, what did you like. Because I had a boyfriend, we were not together for a long time, but when I was in my second therapy, when I came home, he would wait close to the door. He would wait if I would hug him or not. So he would give me the place or the space I need. And he would say, if you want to talk, I'm here. If you don't want to talk,
Yeah.
I don't take it bad. Because sometimes if you don't want to talk, the people take it as you're not trusting me or stuff. But sometimes you just have to be on your own and first realize what's going on, because in one of those lessons, it can be really, really intense. So he was showing me that he's there, but he was not pressuring for nothing. I would kiss him if I wanted to. I would hug him if I wanted to. But if I said, okay, I don't want nothing like body contact right now, it was fine as well. And for me, this was the best reaction I saw.
Yeah.
And he also sometimes would ask questions you maybe would be afraid to ask. But it was really good because then we were really open with that topic. And I don't really know how to close that gap or how to provide that information. I thought maybe we can, in one moment, you can have like ask thousands of survivors and just put the answers in a small PDF or a small film, so all the family members could see it as a help. That the reactions can be so different and helpful. But I think the most important thing is that you don't like judge the person if they can't talk at the moment, or they don't want to hug all the time or stuff. And yeah, this is what I have planned in the future. Like this was would be amazing, because obviously the best thing would be to avoid that this is happening. And you can obviously you can think about preventing stuff, but this is the hardest part. And while we are working on that,
Yeah.
I would love to take care of the other survivors and their family members. And I had a really interesting aspect that somebody wrote me in like 2 or 3 weeks ago in WhatsApp, and he said, sometimes we are part of the problem by um, making that person that will later do something bad,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we're really missing respect to other people.
Yeah.
And for example, it's not, I don't talk about that this is an excuse, but if in school a person that is not beautiful in the way like we judge this, and he maybe is a boy and he hears like over and over again of girls, you think I could like you, look at yourself, look at the mirror,
Yep.
you can just say no thanks.
Yep.
Because this could be when he has a mental issue,
True.
this could be a situation that later causes problems, because he would judge all women the same, because maybe he would have experienced that with 30 years or more, like several times. So again, it's obviously not an excuse to behave this way, but these things are not supportive
Yep.
for prevention. So we just should treat every person with respect. And he was really right with these words. And yeah, when I escaped to Mexico from Germany, I was in Spain living with my grandparents in 2016. So I thought, like, I overcame that. I want to live in Spain. And one day there was like I was sleeping, and I was just living with my grandparents at that time. And they had a huge house, and I was sleeping upstairs. And then I woke up because I heard something, and it was my grandfather. He was like standing at the side of the bed, and he was trying to touch me. And he was already over 80 years old, what was really like shocking, because you would know in that age they wouldn't even think about that. And at the end, nothing happened. He would insist. I would say no, no, no. And I was, in that case, I was not really afraid of him as a strong man because he was already 80 years old. So I was ready to defend myself if I would have had to.
Mm.
But he was just doing it with words. And it was really ugly because it was not, it didn't sound like the voice of my grandpa I loved, but it was like Gollum of how's the movie called with the rings, the fantasy movie,
Lord of
the
Rings.
Lord of the Rings. So it was really like
Mm.
ooh, and nothing happened, but it was, for me, it was always my hero, my grandfather, because my grandmother was ill for 30 years and he would take care of her every day, every night.
Wow.
He learned to cook with over 50. He did everything, and she was always so pissy to him. Like, the food is too cold, the food is too warm, the food is too many salt, the
Mm.
food has no salt. There were always something to complain. And I always was amazed by his patience. This was real love, because if not, he would say, do you know,
Yeah.
just cook your own food if you want, right? And I was really, this time I couldn't really be like afraid, angry. It was more like really, I was really, really sad because my hero was gone. And I didn't want to talk to no one. And I knew when I would have asked something for someone for a ride to the airport, for example, we were living in a small village, the people would have asked. So my own grandfather, the next morning, brought me to the airport. He was crying, and first I tried to avoid like to see him the longest I could. Right in the morning, I went downstairs to breakfast when he was when he was buying groceries and stuff like that. But well, at one moment he came up and he was crying like a baby. He couldn't stand what had happened. And so he drove me home, and the way to the airport, my grandfather always was driving really fast all his life, but I was not really sure if we would arrive alive,
Mm.
because I thought maybe he's so depressed or sad about the situation that he would just.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, but I think I didn't care that much in that moment. So it was like, when it happens, it will happen. And if not, well, he just drives it to the airport. And then we arrived. And honestly, I'm not really like, I can't really hate him, but I'm I'm not able to like contact him that much.
Mm.
And I know he suffers a lot still. My uncle and my aunt always tell me, and they were the first people I spoke to about that, because they have two young ladies.
Oh.
They have So I have two cousins, female cousins. So I said I would never forgive myself if, because I was not speaking, this would happen to them,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they lived in another city as well. So when they came to visit, normally they slept in the same house or in the house by the other grandparents, but it was a big chance that they would stay with him in the same house.
Yeah.
So I talked to my uncle, and my uncle and me, we never had like really close connection because I was living in Germany, they were living in Spain. But in that situation, they were really, really supportive, he and my aunt. And they would go to the doctor with my grandfather. And they would also help me to talk with my father, what was for me the hardest part of it. Because, like, to say, hey, your father just did me that.
Yeah.
And I think my father would really, like, he can get really emotional, and I didn't know what he would do in that moment, right? And it seems like that this happened because of Alzheimer. Say that this pushes up their sex drive, and it pulls down their shame level, because I know that of people that work with elderly people, that they would like clean them, and then the man would say, can you masturbate me, or stuff like that, because they don't feel that shame anymore because of their illness. So it was part of this, but it was still really, really ugly, because it was a person that was so important for me. And I was already 29 years old, so it had nothing to do with a pedophile or stuff, and he never ever would have watched me in a disrespectful way before. He was just a normal grandpa. And then in 2014, I had a situation where someone would, like, I was walking down the street and somebody would come from behind, and he just touched me, like, here and on the hip down, like like a hug almost, and he would whisper something dirty in my ear. I can't remember the words, but I would react, thanks God, with the right, with giving him, how do you call that, a clap in the face. It was not really a bad, but it left him surprised, and he was like a boy, and said, why did you hit me? So he didn't realize neither that he was doing something wrong, I think, in that moment, but he just ran away. And although there was nothing happening either in that moment, it was really ugly for me, because now I couldn't stand to hear voices of steps behind me. Because normally when you walk through a city, there are thousands of steps around you, and you just go your way. Sometimes I took like several buses to don't have to walk. So it was like totally illogical to go by bus, because it would take more time and more. But I would do that, and in that time I was really glad, because I had two friends that would force me out. Hey, Marisa, let's go to have an ice cream. And I don't wanted to leave. I don't wanted to be out there. But when they were with me, it was fine. So first we would walk another different route. Then in one moment they said, let's walk that way, we are with you. Then later they would walk with me the same way, but they would be 10 meters behind or stuff like that. So we always tried to get closer to the normal reality again, but they gave me really that time and that support. But they didn't let me to stay in the house, and this was so worthy, because I wouldn't have left on my own, I think. And then the fear gets in your head, just in your head, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is like in Germany, you always say when you fall down a horse, you have to go back on it right away. And this was actually this. And after like half a year, 6 to 8 months, I could walk down the street again without thinking about what was happening behind me. So this was really nice. But this impacted me more directly as the violation itself, because it was just on the street. It was at 8 in the evening, so it was not 2 at night. You were alone on the street. It was just 300 meters away from the main train station of that city. So it was not a lonely area neither. It was really not what you would expect for that kind of situations. And I was glad I could react, because you can't, you don't know that before, right? You don't know if you would react that way, or if you just would like ice, frozen, unable to move. They say if you practice a lot of self-defense, it's more the chances are bigger you will defend yourself, but you just know it in that situation. And I was really glad to know that. And he just didn't thought I would, I think. And I think he was not smelling um like he had drunk, but I think he was drugged, because he was just thinking he was like hugging me, right? And I would like it. And all this made me realize that we have to heal also, to avoid that this will repeat itself. So I'm not saying that I'm guilty that it happened again and again, but at first I felt always like a victim, right? And this is this is the energy, this is the vibe I'm spreading. And second, I had that in. I wanted to be member of the police when I was younger. Thanks God, I learned a few things. um, and we had a man that was telling us a story, I think from the United States, where they took prisoners out of prison on the top of a house, and they just let them pick people they would choose as victims, because they wanted to know how they decide who to rob or whatever. And the prisoners would say, okay, I would take that person or that person, and on the street down there would be an officer talk to the people. And almost, I think it was 95%, but it was at least more than 90% of these people were already victims of something, some kind of violence, some kind. So I think it's really important for us to heal, because if you're unsure, you walk like that.
Always.
And normally, many people um, that are treating people bad don't feel big. They feel that small, and they need you to feel smaller so they can feel a little bit bigger. So it's not a strong character that is doing harm to another because he has the need to. It's a person that have a self image of this big. And so if we can walk on the street like that, head up high, it's obvious it's never a 100% safety, but it's totally different than when we're like,
So true.
right? And this is why I really think, and it's interesting because I'm impressed, and I'm really sad when I hear how much it happens to the mother and then it happens to the daughter, or even the son. because in childhood it's both, it's many boys as well that suffer from that. So if you can heal yourself, you always also help the generations that following.
Yeah.
And this is, for me, like my mission in this world is to help to heal to as many people I can. I will work most time in Spanish and German, but I love to have the chance to share my story and stuff also in English.
Yep.
And this is why I'm so glad I can be here. And I think even if we have all like different ways to do it, right? Like you choose that way.
Yep.
We should really start like doing like more together, because I know so many groups and organizations that have the same goal,
Yeah.
but like because they like green and they like blue, they don't work together.
Yep.
And for me, it's always the bigger and the more united we are, the more we can reach, right?
Yep.
So yeah, this is a mission that I know many people that when they healed, they tried to or started to help others as well. And even in their process, like soon we will publish a book in Germany sharing the story of 11 survivors. And those women are brave, but they are still so unsure. It's like, so you don't even have to heal yourself 100% till you can help others, because the other, if he like is just in the beginning and you made halfway already, you can just help, because you know how to make that path, right? So this is really something I love, because at the moment I find many people, or they find me, that are on the same mission, the mission of like making those people's better life, those people's life better.
You are
And
okay.
you get me. And this is what is like what I try to do at the moment. I still have a job as a waitress, but here it's like we work more in the winter, because in the summer all the foreigners go home because it's too hot.
Yes.
And yeah, it would be amazing to be able to live with it, live from that, because then I can dedicate all my time for it, right?
Okay, thank you for tuning in, and you can find me on all the socials at Smitha Gunturi and the show notes for any resources mentioned. See you next week. Take care.